I woke up this morning with new wisdom on my mind. I know who I am. There's no need to hide. I got something to say. I'm thinking that it's time. Why? Cause I'm a young intellect. I'm a young intellect. I'm a young intellect. I'm a young intellect. Pay me my respect.
You are now tuned in to the Young Intellect Podcast, an open space where opinions and experiences are welcomed. Hosted by Sam and Mafwa. Hello and welcome, Young Intellects. This is your co-host, Mafwa, welcoming you to our open space to teach, learn, laugh, and love.
And I am your co host, Sam, here to encourage you to explore different ways to view the world at large.
Hey, you excited for this, Sam?
Yeah, this is my first, this is the first time I've ever done a podcast. So, like, I'm kind of nervous and excited at the same time.
Same. I'm not really sure how this is gonna go, but we're just gonna see how it's gonna go. Try it
Mhm.
out. So the first thing we actually wanted to do was define what a young intellect was. Did you want to go first?
Yeah, so a young intellect to me is basically somebody that is still like learning and matriculating through life. They don't really have like everything together. And it's not really about being like an intellectual. It's just having something to say and like you want people to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and I agree. A young intellect doesn't have to be young by any means. It's really just someone who has a current opinion, but they're still growing. So in 2 years down the line, their opinion on that exact same subject that they were talking about previously could be totally different. But it doesn't mean they can't speak on it now, or have an opinion, or share their thoughts, or discuss with people. That's what a young intellect is. Just someone who's still learning, but someone who has something to say. It's not their final word.
So the show is basically like providing a space for people to grow. Like we're very into improving yourself, like putting whatever you have to say out there and just being you, like self-improvement, self-love, and like that's what we're all about.
Exactly. So today's topic is titled Getting to Know Us.
This episode is just a way for you to get to know us and like get a glimpse of our mindsets.
We're not asking questions like, oh, how old are we? Where did we go to school? We're asking questions that really give you a look into our belief systems and where we position ourselves in life in terms of understanding on certain topics, really. So, yeah.
Okay, let's get into it. So our first question is I'm gonna ask you, what's your idea of loving someone? Because everybody's always throwing the word love around. Like, what does loving someone mean to you?
So, my idea of loving someone is full acceptance of all aspects of that person. So, allowing them to be who they are freely without feeling the need to control them, really letting them be free, letting them go. Like, just if they want to do this and it's not something I agree with, but it's what they want to do, I have to let them do it because that's what love is, really just letting someone be who they are without any restrictions and without imposing what I think they should be. I'm not going to try force them into this certain arena when that's not them. They should be able to choose for themselves and I should be able to accept that 100%. And that's my idea of loving someone, accepting someone for how they come.
Okay, I like that too. But
Mm.
the way I view it is like this. Like I'm not really sure what love is, but like my idea of love is like basically having compassion for somebody, respecting someone in their space, trusting, and actually providing comfort to someone. Also,
Mm.
it's like treating them like right, treating them how they should be treated, not how you want to treat them, but how they should be treated. I don't know. It's just providing like a space for somebody to, like you said, for them to be them and be comfortable and be happy. That's what I think love is.
I agree. Like if they're one way, say if you have a friend who likes dancing, you should let them dance, not like tell them to stop dancing all the time because you don't like the attention they draw. Loving someone's really just letting them flower into who they are and showing them compassion and, as you said, treating them how they should be treated, not how you want to treat them based off of like what you think they should be treated like.
Okay.
Okay, so that was a good first question. The next question is, so do you think, Sam, what you say or how you say it is more important? Which one do you think is more important?
So for me, the most important thing is how you say it, because I don't like sometimes how people come at me from the side of their neck to tell me something. I feel like if you're going to tell me something, you should tell me something in a way that I would be able to receive it, and
Mm,
not in a way that's just so rude that like I'm going to initially ignore you because I don't like how you say it.
mm,
And how you say is always like what you say is always important too, because you can't go around just saying stuff to people.
that's true. I agree. I agree with you with the explanation of both, but for me, I don't think I can pick between the two just because I believe they both are very important. Like in society, it's very important to teach the truth, and what you say is very important. What you put out there, the information that you're putting out there, because you could lead humanity down the wrong path, which is what I believe has happened. Humanity is just being led down the wrong path just because of the information that's being put out there. What is being said to people is guiding them in the wrong place, but also how you say something is important because, like as you said, someone you might be telling someone something important, but they won't receive the message because you haven't catered it to the way they receive messages. You haven't catered it to a frequency that they're willing to receive at that moment. So they both hold a lot of weight because you could say something, but then you're not saying it in the right way. So either way, they're not going to receive the message. So you might as well have not even said it in the first place. So how you say it is important because someone won't receive the message if you give it to them like
I,
incorrectly.
I think when like we should be more mindful when we are telling people stuff and not say like from our point of view, kind of like put ourselves in their shoes and see like, okay, how can I say it to that person? It's not being like sensitive or whatever. It's just
Mm,
like we all are different. Like we respond differently to different things. So like we can't I feel like as people we can't always feel like, okay, I'm gonna say it that way because that's how I respond to something. You should like
mm,
try to talk to people in a way that's fitting to them, that's better for them, and not like better for us.
that's true.
If you
I
get what I'm trying
definitely
to say.
agree with that. And it goes both ways as well. As well as giving a message in a way that someone is able to receive it. You also have to, as an individual, it's not always what someone else does. You have to look at yourself and be like, okay, this person really might just be mad right now or going through something in life, or they might just not know how to talk to people. But but it doesn't mean that what they're telling me is invalid. So maybe I should just not follow their emotions that they're bringing along with the message. If they're mad or they're upset or something, I don't have to I don't have to put myself in that same energy space. I don't have to be upset too. I don't have to be mad too. I can really just um, listen to the information that they're telling me because like just because they're coming at you sideways doesn't mean that the message that they're giving isn't valid. Sometimes people get emotional. That's what humans do. So we have a part to play as the receiver of a message to really just not
Listen.
listen to the actual message, not get involved with the emotions behind it.
See, I guess like we need to get out of our head a little bit. I feel like for me, I'm probably in my emotions all the time. Like I'm probably like always thinking about like how I feel about something and not really I feel like sometimes I do and not really what is being said, but like how I feel about what's being said. So that's something I need to work on.
Yeah, it's definitely something I need to work on too, but it's something I definitely see. progressing. Like I will be mad, but I won't like. I'll be like, okay, yeah, I'm mad, like because of what they said or the way they said it. But like, I'm not about to act on that emotion. I'm not about to be like, no, I'm not listening to it. Like, because some people, like most of the time, they're saying something that I do that is true. So yeah, I really just have to put my emotions to the side and be like, I understand that I'm feeling this way right now, but they're telling me something that is very true. So let me just listen.
I think initially for me, I don't really like when it's happening, I'm just like I'm not gonna listen to you. But like when I actually step out of that like environment or that conversation and I have time to myself, I'm like, okay, they made some good points. Okay, they were right. I can admit that. I think like it's just like our emotions are just too involved.
Yeah, it's true. And it's something to work on.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next question. So for me, it's like I want to ask you, what's something that you'll teach your children that is not common?
Something that I would teach my children that's not common is, well, meditation one. Meditation. I'll teach them meditation from a young age. And also really how to follow your heart and your soul's purpose, and not to I won't teach them to listen to society's trends and follow them. I'll be like, listen, you have your whole trend of your own, like follow that. You'll be a lot happier doing that, and you'll basically achieve a lot more following who you are rather than what someone else wants you to be. Just be yourself. That's what I'll teach them. Just be yourself 100% unapologetically, and everything will be okay.
I think for me, like I want to teach my kids to actually like explore their talents
Mm,
because for me, like I really love dancing at a young age and like my family never took that seriously. They never like tried to like help me in my to explore my talent. So like I want my kids to explore their talents because that can possibly lead to their talent being their career. Like education is very important to me, but I also think like investing in your children's talents is also important as well. Like if some of these parents didn't invest in their children's talents, like we wouldn't have all these great people that we have and look up to.
mm. I definitely agree. Like Beyonce, her parents were definitely invested in her talent. People might say too much, but they were invested in it, and they didn't like put her in a math class. And like right now, she's living her talent. She's living in her purpose because they listened to who she was rather than imposing their beliefs on her. And she wouldn't have been as big as she was today if her parents didn't do that for her.
I like that, living in your purpose. I'm gonna
Mm.
keep that in the back of my head.
Moving on to the next question. My question to you, Sam, is why do you think we are so obsessed with the past and the future, but so absent in the now?
It has to do with society because society teaches us to always focus on the present. Like, okay, like what are you gonna do next? What's your next step? What's that? And you're not really focusing on what you're doing right now. Like some people, we're just like so stuck into the future and like we disregard what's happening in the present. So that's one part of it. And the second part, I believe that sometimes we think about the past because that's probably when it was happier for us. It was happier times. So we like to live in a moment that was like happier for us and not something maybe we have something that we don't like in the present that we're dealing with and like we don't want to deal with it. So we just prefer the past.
Mm. I definitely agree. You have our role models, especially in the music industry, our artists. They're all like, if you're not hustling for the future, I don't know what you're doing. And then people are like, oh, wait, I really got to stop doing what I'm doing now and enjoying the moment and imagine a future and hustle for that instead of creating in this moment. And then some people are really going through traumatic present times or a traumatic experience has happened and they were never able to move past that. So the only way to go is back instead of forward. So they live in past moments. And I remember in a speech Kanye was giving, he was like, I don't want to be one of those people who are like, oh, you remember that time we did this? Oh, you remember that time when this happened? He was really like, he wants to create moments like that all the time. So he's always going to do his best. And it's something that society should teach, being present in the now, because I think um, it's really detrimental to all of us how unpresent we are in the present moment.
Mm. I think honestly, like, okay, you can use the past to actually guide you in your present so you can have a better future. But I think like when you're just stuck in it, like all you can think about is the past or all you can talk about is the future. That's where it's going wrong. Like you can't just live your life thinking about like something that you're not living in. Like you gotta make that future right now. You gotta live right now because you don't know when you're gonna die.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, it's important. It's very important to learn from the past. Learning from the past and living in the past are very different, and it's important to envision a future, but envisioning a future and living in the future is very different, too. So I do agree with what you're saying.
Okay, we're gonna go to the next question, I guess. So my next question to you is, what do you think is the difference between living and existing?
Okay, so this question is pretty cool for me. So for me, living is being current or alive in this present moment. Um, and the conditions that satisfy living a living organism is Miss Gren, which we learned in biology, and that stands for movement, respiration, sensitivity, control, growth, reproduce, excursion, and nutrition. So as long as you satisfy these conditions, you're living, you're current, and existing, for the way I see it, is to have been at a certain point in time. You can be right now, so you can exist right now in this moment, or you could have existed in another moment. So dinosaurs, they aren't living because right now they aren't satisfying the conditions for a living organism. They're extinct, they're dead. But it doesn't mean they didn't exist. At a certain point in time, they did exist. So that's the difference between living and existing. Um, yeah.
So Oscar Wilde once said, well, Oscar Wilde, there's a quote from Oscar Wilde that says, "To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist. That is all." So for me, living is actually living your life to the fullest, doing things that you want to do, being happy and like just doing you. And existing to me is just like you're alive, but you're just there. You're not really doing much with yourself and like you're just doing things that society wants you to do or things that you like other people want you to do. But like you're not it's like being a robot. Like I equate like just existing like being a robot or being like you're not doing much. I don't know. That's
Mm.
how I view it personally.
Okay, I guess that does make sense. For me, I do have to disagree with that just because I believe that's a way that society has corrupted people's minds into like believing that they have to be doing something like doing something that because people will be like people will come in, they'll look from the outside on the to the inside and be like, oh, that person's not really living their life, they're just existing, they have no purpose. But if you think about it, who are you to be the judge of what that person's purpose is? Maybe that person's purpose is really just to teach you that, oh, that's not what you want to do. Just because
Mm.
they're not doing, just because they're not doing what you think they should be doing, doesn't mean they don't have a purpose. I don't think as human beings we have the capacity to judge. Well, we do have the capacity to judge, but we're not their creator, so we don't know why they're here, so we can't justify if they have a purpose or not. That's just something that we've created in our head. There are different ways to live. You can live your life present, consciously, and when you do live your life present and consciously, you live life to what we call a greater extent, which is what people call living, and as opposed to living in conditions where you're not doing what you want, as you said, and you're following society's rules and regulations that they set. But it doesn't mean that you're not living. It means that you're not living life to the standard that you could be living. But yeah, that's just how I see it. Like we can't really judge other people's purposes. We don't even know our own purpose. If I ask you what your purpose is, you'll be like, I don't know.
I
So
mean,
like,
you can we can say it, but it's not like it might not be true because
exactly,
we like I don't think we really know like our purpose like that.
exactly.
We can say something, we can say what we think our purpose is, but is it like really our purpose? Because I do believe like everybody has like their own purpose.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't even know what your true purpose is. So how can you look at someone else and say that they don't have a purpose? You don't know what your true purpose is. So how are you going to know what their true purpose is? Like, you really just have to focus on yourself. You like living is like if someone walks up to you today and be like, you're not living your life, you'll really look down at your arms and like be like, I'm living my life. I'm literally here in this world
Holy
right
shit.
now, breathing. I'm breathing. How can you tell me I'm not living my life? Like like you don't know what my life is supposed to be. So like just because you've imagined that my life is supposed to be a certain way doesn't mean that that's how my life is supposed to be. Like just because you come in from whatever side of the world you came from and be like, this isn't how life is supposed to be lived. There's more than 7 billion people on the earth, so there are more than 7 billion ways that life is supposed to be lived. So you can't really like you don't have the control of how someone's life is supposed to be. Only their creator does. They're here for a certain purpose. So you like, even though you might not agree with it, it doesn't mean that they're not living their life. You don't know what path they're on, and it was created by uh, a being.
Societal
Not like
construct.
no, our life was created by someone greater than us. Well, something greater than us. So we can't act like we have the capacity to understand somebody's life's purpose. We don't even have the capacity to understand our own life's purpose. So you can't look at somebody else and be like, you're not living your life's purpose when you don't even know what your life's purpose is, or you don't even know what you're here to do. Yeah, and it's a social construct, really, like what living is. Well, whether you're happy with your life and living life to the fullest is different to actually living. That's
Mm. Yeah, I wasn't really seeing it like that. Was I guess like how I was seeing it is like how society defined the two words. But I guess like you make some good points. Actually, you do make some good points because we really don't know. Like it's like we're judging the person relative to how we want to live our lives, but maybe like they might be happy, maybe they might be happy. It's just like we can't understand that because the way that we're living our lives
that
doesn't match up to how they're living their lives.
exactly like white people came into Africa and were like they look at Haitians or Africans and be like, oh, they're not living their lives properly. Like you can't really say that. How do you know? There's not one way that life is supposed to be lived. There are literally 7 billion people on earth, so there's 7 billion ways that life could be lived. Or even more than 7 billion people, but I'm just like rounding it.
So basically, like living is like relative to whatever society that you're a part of or wherever you're from.
Exactly. Like there were different like different lifetimes ago, people lived completely different, like completely different. They like people still drank water through their mouths, like everything, like those basic things are the same. Things don't change, certain things don't change, but the way life was lived was different. So this isn't the only way to live your life. There are different ways to live your life.
Makes sense. That's a good way of looking at living and existing.
Mm,
Well, that was all our questions for today. Like, we hope that you really enjoyed or got to actually, we hope that you actually got to know us a little bit from
yeah.
our different perspectives. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today on the Young Intellect Podcast. We hope that you enjoyed the show and tell a friend to tell a friend about us. And make sure you take care of yourself and your mind.
Cause I'm a young intellect.